Enda mbele huku bwana, tunajua hakuna pia tunachukua.
Wewe Rono bwana.
Enda mbele ile. Sasa live sasa wewe uko nyuma.
And from Nairobi County, we go to Eldoret. As you can see, there are those who are actually armored with batons and equally crowds that have gathered in Eldoret. These, as we continue to see what happened, remember that Eldoret equally witnessed protesters, and this seems to be a gathering. I don't know what it is they are doing, but again, today the military is out, police officers are out. In Eldoret, seems to be peaceful today, nothing much happening. People just in a procession walking in Eldoret town. These, as we continue to follow up in what is happening, these protesters who are just marching and we're not sure what it is they are doing in Eldoret, but it is a situation that we continue to follow up. Remember that the past few days we have seen Eldoret experience protesters who went on to loot business premises. We know some properties or politicians were attacked, but today we see it is relatively peaceful. Businesses and not sure if they are working as expected of them, but this is a crowd in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, as people are walking armed with batons, as opposed to the other time when we could see placards. There are no placards this time round. No one is chanting. They're just walking in the CBD. Jesse.
Well, definitely, we continue with our unrivaled news coverage of today's developments. Remember, the youth had hinted that they would turn out to the streets today, all to do with the finance bill protests, but it seems to be a stark contrast to the scenes we saw on Tuesday. This time round in Eldoret, as Aseto has mentioned, the numbers are on the streets indeed, but it doesn't seem to be well coordinated in terms of the chants we saw on Tuesday around the finance bill, in terms of the cat and mouse games between the police and the protesters. But it's equally proper to note that the police presence across the country is notable, definitely buffered by the security forces, the KDF, who are equally on the streets, not just in Nairobi County, but other areas as well. But just live pictures right there from Eldoret town. The numbers are on the streets. Seems to be a little bit of confusion and standstill as they seem to be maneuvering their way around the town. But that's the latest in terms of the state of affairs on the ground. Eldoret seems to be picking up right now. Remember, earlier on it was mostly calm across the country, including in Nairobi. We saw protests in Migori and Kisumu, a little bit heightened. We understand that those individuals walking in Eldoret are anti-protesters. So interesting. Remember, we are a democratic country, and it's not just the right of those who are against the finance bill to protest. So in Eldoret, we might see those who are exercising Article 37 of the Constitution, perhaps in support of the government of the day. Quite peaceful, even as they walk around the streets of Eldoret. But we continue with our unrivaled coverage. Our camera lenses are trained in various cities across the country. Nairobi of key interest, bearing in mind what exactly played out on Tuesday in terms of the protesters overwhelming the police who were on the streets. Thereafter, the Cabinet Secretary of Defense declared a security emergency in the country and gazetted the deployment of KDF. Of course, we've seen the push and pull in terms of the process, in terms of which the KDF was deployed, bearing in mind the Constitution mentions.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Sensodyne gives you long-lasting protections against sensitivity. And people come in and they're like, oh, it works. I can have ice cream and I'm not in any discomfort. I recommend Sensodyne because it works. It's brilliant.
Wapwani mpo, Kilifi na Kwale tumewasili. Sasa unaweza burudika na Star Times DTT kila maeneo ya miji ya Kilifi na Kwale. Tumbuika na vipindi kemkem vya kusisimua katika station yetu mpya ya Rainbow TV Plus kuanzia Julai tarehe 1. Rainbow TV Plus, kina cha burudani. Wasiliana na customer care kwa nambari 0719 077 077 hivi leo. Upate taarifa zaidi pa kununua DTT Star Times decoder. Uenjoy zaidi ya channel 75 local na international. Usiwachwe nyuma. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
I want to say that Nurdin Haj must take responsibility for the deaths that occurred. He must take responsibility for the mayhem. He must take responsibility for failing President William Ruto. He must take responsibility for failing the government of the Republic of Kenya. He must take responsibility for failing the Kenyan nation.
The moment I feel my pain starting to fade, it's like I'm going back to myself on a really good day.
Panadol Extra releases you from strong pain. Panadol, release style.
Lipia subscription yako uwe connected. Guswa hisia na drama na telenovela freshi, movie kali, documentaries, mziki na lifestyle channel. Changamka na Star Times. Let's get ready to download Star Times on app kwa burudani kemkem wakati wowote popote ulipo. Star Times, furahia maisha kidijitali.
We value your feedback and welcome any comments, queries, or complaints regarding our news content. You can get in touch with us on SMS 22155, call 0719 012 450, or email feedback@standardmedia.co.ke, or you can send us a letter on Post Office Box 30080-00100, or deliver it to our offices at Standard Group Center, Mombasa Road, Nairobi. KTN News. Get the whole story.
Your help. Only on KTN News.
Sensodyne gives you long-lasting protections against sensitivity. And people come in and they're like, oh, it works. I can have ice cream and I'm not in any discomfort. I recommend Sensodyne because it works. It's brilliant.
For the last 3 days, Kisumu County has played a host to various stakeholders focusing on sickle cell anemia. Key discussions have been aimed at formulating a comprehensive strategy to implement policy interventions aimed at reducing the burden of sickle cell disease and lowering its prevalence.
Beautiful thing.
Statistically, 14,000 children are born annually with this disease. Worse still, 50 to 90% of these children never reach their 5th birthday, an issue posing a threat not only to the parents but also to the Ministry of Health.
We realize that with sickle cell disease, it is better to catch when the infant early enough, and that for that reason we have policy guidelines for screening of infants. We are able to detect who has sickle cell disease early, so that we are able to put them into care early enough.
Data from Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital in Kisumu reveals that those who survive the disease suffer an average of 5 crises annually, each requiring 5 to 10 days of hospitalization. This significantly contributes to the economic burden on the affected families.
All children who are born in Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital are screened for sickle cell. We want to make this go to the whole county. And from this, we are now getting real statistics. We are now knowing that the prevalence of sickle cell in Kisumu among newborn is actually 1.5% based on these statistics. So doing this, that means that you can diagnose these people early and start preparing them early so that they are born and they are counseled knowing very well that either I have a sickle cell disease or I have a sickle cell trait.
The conference highlighted malaria and carbon monoxide as common triggers that precipitate crises among sickle cell patients, including stroke, which destroys red blood cells used for oxygen transportation, leading to low blood levels and need for transfusion.
Preliminary data is showing that in terms of the demand, you have over 4,000 requests being requested for blood, and we are only filling about 800. So we are only filling 23% of the actual demand. So we need to be working, moving from that 23 and moving on to 100%. And that's when we're going to have sufficient blood for even our warriors here, the sickle cell warriors, and the people who have malaria, our babies who are dying, and our mothers who are hemorrhaging every single day, and even people who need dialysis, who need lots of blood, and even for the transplant ecosystem.
For patients like James Cargo, significant milestones have been achieved in the fight against sickle cell disease. However, much more still needs to be done.
At the point when I was appointed as sickle cell ambassador, there wasn't a department, a door on which we could knock within our Ministry of Health. Today we have a vibrant directorate that is looking at the issues of sickle cell. We have organized community health interventions and now have centers of excellence. We have governors, we have first ladies participating, so the stigma has been reduced.
Sickle cell anemia, being a blood disorder, underscores the importance of establishing a blood bank in most hospitals nationwide due to the frequent need for blood transfusion among these children.
At a local market in Nakuru, a town in Kenya's Rift Valley region, Josephine Abongo is busy attending to customers at her cook stoves shop. Abongo produces and sells clay-molded energy-saving stoves that she says are a great improvement to the open-fire cooking technology used in most rural homes in Kenya.
So what we are doing is to bring back the traditional technology, but in an improved way, in a digital way, so that it can be used even in urban homes. That way we will save trees, we will save the environment, and we will save our health. We will also save economically because the economy is currently bad and people don't have money.
The project is being implemented by Practical Action, a development-focused non-governmental organization.
I think it's becoming a talk that we are moving the discussion towards ensuring that our local people transit from the traditional cooking solutions to the new cooking solutions that save their lives.
Health experts say cooking smoke is a major health risk, especially to rural populations in sub-Saharan Africa. Data from Kenya's Ministry of Health estimates that 21,500 premature deaths occur each year as a result of indoor air pollution triggered by cooking.
The use of firewood, as we know, when it burns, that smoke is direct. It's worse than even when you smoke because there is a filter. This is the primary use of the smoke, which has a lot of effect in the lungs.
Unlike traditional stoves, the improved devices are designed so the flame is aimed directly at the cooking pot to avoid wasting heat. They also have just one opening for charcoal and firewood instead of 3. And they are constructed with a thick liner made from a special type of clay for heat conservation. All these factors make the stoves up to 40% more efficient, reducing consumption of firewood and charcoal. Practical Action says around 200,000 improved cook stoves have been sold by more than 300 trained entrepreneurs like Abongo. Kagoto Danji Vocational Training Center is one institution that has adopted the cleaner cooking technology. Principal Malaki Manasseh says the move has cut costs for the institution.
We used to have a full ton, a lorry of firewood a term. But the way I've implemented it, I've saved almost 80% of that, which is a plus for us.
Last year's International Energy Agency annual conference in Nairobi called for an acceleration of universal access to cleaner cooking through government incentives and subsidies. Practical Action's Team Mwangi says funding remains a major problem for African countries.
Well, we have very good policies, but in terms of funding, then it needs to match the good policies that we have in there.
Kenya aims to achieve 100% access to clean cooking by 2028, in line with UN Sustainable Development Goals.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Na Alhamisi njema mpenzi mtazamaji, kwenye wiki ambayo imejawa na matukio hususan baada ya bunge la kitaifa kupitisha rasmi ule mswada wa fedha mwaka 2024 mtazamaji, na hapo jana tukamwona Rais William Ruto akiuondoa ule mswada wa fedha, lakini ni swala ambalo limeendelea